In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some simple yet powerful self-care techniques that every woman needs in her life. So sit back and let's dive in. Hey babes, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nikki for those of you that are new here, and as a women's life coach, I am passionate about helping women create happier, more fulfilling lives. And today, that means that we're focusing on you, girl. Before we dive in, I want to give you guys a preview of the points that I'm going to be touching on in today's video. So today we're definitely talking about setting boundaries, exploring self-care practices, the power of positive relationship, and pursuing growth and purpose. We're going to start this topic off with discussing the importance of setting boundaries, because I believe that that is so important when it comes to us prioritizing our self-care as women. And what does setting boundaries look like? It looks like learning to say no, learning to be assertive, learning to be able to speak up for ourselves and stop being afraid. It looks like being intentional with your time. So let's rewind a little bit. Learning to say no. What does that look like? Or why are we learning to say no? We as women, not all of us, but typically, most of us as women, we are very nurturing. We are the caretakers. We want to make everyone feel good around us. This is just innately who we are. And what tends to happen is we take on way more than sometimes we are capable of taking on, and it leads to burnout, it leads to stress, it leads to all kinds of health issues. So I want to start with learning to set boundaries and being okay with saying no. Like, no, I can't take on anything else on my plate right now. No, thank you for the invite, but I'm not going to be able to make it. And being able to say no without feeling like you have to give a reason why. You have to explain yourself every single time. Now, of course, there are different aspects to this, right? Learning to say no, but also knowing when you can't say no, when there are certain things that you are obligated to doing, that's completely different, okay? I just felt like I had to put that in there. But outside of that, learning to say no when someone is asking you to take on more than you can handle, and being okay with that. Learning to be assertive, learning to speak up for yourself. I speak to so many women who end up in uncomfortable situations simply because they have a fear of speaking up for themselves. They have a fear of saying no. They have a fear of saying, I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable. So I want us to first of all focus on setting boundaries and learning the importance of this. Without our boundaries, we're unsafe. Without our boundaries, you're vulnerable to any form of whatever kind of behavior, whatever kind of treatment anyone wants to bring towards you. So learning to set your boundaries and being okay with that, and knowing that you have the right as a woman, as a human being, to set boundaries up for yourself, for your life, so that you can be safe, so that you can enjoy your peace, and you can continue protecting your mental health. I want you ladies to really focus on also being very intentional with how you spend your time. Who are you spending your time with? Where are you spending your time? How much time are you giving away? Time is something that we can never, ever get back. And so I want you to be intentional with it. I want to make sure that we're spending time doing things that help to fulfill us, that bring us joy, that bring peace into our lives, that help us to grow. We're spending time with people that are sharing their love with us. They're helping us to grow as well, and so on and so forth. No more spending time in spaces and with people that are draining you, that are sucking away your life, people that don't even appreciate you. None of that.
None of it.
We are setting boundaries. That is our very first priority when it comes to self-care. We're going to set boundaries. We're going to learn to say no. We're going to learn to speak up for ourselves. So many of us as women take on way more than we can handle, because we have this mindset where we have to be some kind of a superhero, especially if you're a mom. I think moms are more inclined to do things like this. And I get it, because I'm a mom, right? And everyone is coming to us, and we are the nurturers, we are the caregivers, we are the nurses, we are the counselors. We do everything. But a lot of us have this mindset where we have to be superwoman, and we're taking on a lot more than we honestly know we can handle. And if you are in that space, I want to ask you, where's that mindset coming from? Is it just something that you're doing because this is how you find your self-worth? If you are someone that finds that you are there for people to the extreme, I want you to sit back and ask yourself, where is this coming from? Like, why do I find it necessary to do this? A lot of times we're coming from a space of feeling like this is how I gain my self-worth. If I just let everyone know that I'm always available for them, I always have their back, no matter what, this is how I gain my self-worth. Now, here's a little story about me, because I used to have such a hard time telling people no. For the longest, for years, I've always attracted people, even out on the street, right? Random people will come up to me and just start telling me their life story, all their business, right? I would have clients, when I was a personal trainer, I would have clients who would come in and we would really just have like therapy sessions, which I was fine with. But because I've always been that person that everyone comes to with their issues and, I'm giving out advice and whatnot, I was giving more than I ever was receiving. And at the time, I kept saying, it's okay. It's okay because they need me. Like, friends need me. My family need me. So it's okay. It was to the point where I would be going through some really, really hard times in my life. And I would still have people calling me with their issues. So think about this, right? Just picture this. I'm sitting at home crying. I'm going through like a depressive moment. I'm at my lowest. And a friend will call me and be like, hey, girl, XYZ, this and that is going on with me and I'm struggling and da da da. Do you know I would immediately like push my stuff to the side to be there for this person? And never even open my mouth to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. I need help too. And then when I decided to start opening my mouth and saying, hey, I'm going through this, I was actually met with people who would basically, they would listen to what I had to say to an extent, but it was more so like, okay, like, let me listen to this real quick, let her know that everything's going to be okay, and then let's get back to my problem. And it took me a while to get to the point where I'm like, no, you don't get to call me and dump on me. I don't have the capacity for it right now, and I'm not going to take it. And, and there's no shade to anyone that did that to me in the past, because it's something that I allowed. It was me not setting boundaries for myself. It was me always feeling like this is how I gained my self-worth. This is where my self-worth comes from. People knowing that they can call on me and I'm always there for them. Doesn't matter what time you're calling me. You could be calling me and I'm already falling asleep and getting ready for bed. But if you tell me you have a problem, I'm going to jump up and I'm going to be there for you. And that's not where we gain our self-worth. And so if you're a woman that you find yourself in that same space where you're like extremely always there for everyone, and especially if you find that when you are now in a space where you need someone to be an ear or some form of advice or a helping hand for you, you can't find that. Baby girl, I need you to take the time to sit back and start forming these boundaries. Like, what do I now need to implement and set in place so that going forward, these relationships that I have are healthy on both ends? No one is pulling and getting more than the other side. Like, these are relationships where it's being reciprocated on both ends. So again, we're going to start with setting boundaries, learning to say no, being okay with being assertive, opening your mouth and speaking up for yourself, and knowing that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and being intentional with how you're spending your time and who you're spending your time with. We are no longer doing this burnout lifestyle as women. We're not doing it. We are no longer moving forward feeling like we are obligated to always be there for everyone, especially during times when we can barely be there for ourselves. Okay, so now let's explore some good self-care habits. And I want to preface this by saying that self-care does not require some form of dramatic change in your life. You honestly can just start implementing some really small changes and then staying attuned to what it is that you are needing in the present time. For example, let's start with spiritual self-care. We can start with something as simple as praying every day. If you're someone that does not pray, just start implementing prayer every day. You don't even have to have you have to get up at this time in the morning and you have to pray for X amount of time, or it doesn't have to be anything like that. Like, I don't pray, and I feel like this is something that I need to start implementing into my life, because having a good, healthy spiritual practice helps with my mindset, helps with my inner peace, helps with my internal guidance. And so I want to focus on that. Okay, if you are someone that you don't even pray, just start implementing that. Like, every day I'm gonna pray. You can literally pray while you're walking. Like, I'm praying basically throughout the entire day, to be honest with you guys. Like, I'm always just talking to God like a friend. And so, yeah, you can pray while you're walking, while you're driving, while you're getting ready. But again, it's just you now starting to form a habit where this is something that you're doing on a regular, because you know that in the end, it's going to benefit your soul. Self-care is not a cookie cutter type of thing. And I know there's like so many videos out with everyone sharing their self-care practice and their morning routines and all the things that they do, which I think is great because it gives us each ideas of things that we may be able to implement into our lives as well. But honestly, at the end of the day, make your practice something that works for you. So there may be days where you may feel like you need a little bit more time in prayer for whatever the reason is, right? Spend a little bit more time. There may be days where you're feeling like, I want to read a little bit more in the Bible, or this is all that I need right now. I just need a particular verse to get me through. Start focusing on that. If you are someone that you want to start journaling, getting your thoughts out on paper. For me, when I journal, I'm able to get my thoughts out on paper, but more than anything, I use journaling as a way to be creative. Like, my ideas come and I'm able to put them on paper. Or after I finish praying, sometimes I will feel that urge to pull out my journal and I will just start writing whatever the message is that I'm getting from God from that prayer. So again, there are days where I'm journaling, no lie, for like an hour in the morning. And then there are days where I'm probably writing like 3-4 affirmations and I'm out. So make your practice something that works for you. Now, let's talk about this physical self-care, taking care of the body. And we all know that the pillars are getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, and exercising that body. I'm going to be honest with you, ladies. One of the challenges that I have when it comes to my physical self-care is getting enough sleep. And in all honesty, I feel like it's been since I've had my first child. By the way, the girl has just graduated college, okay? So it's been that long since I've actually had consistent, good sleep.
Girl, what now?
My youngest child is now 9 years old, and my sleep is still trash, in all honesty. And so it's something that I'm actually working on. I am being very intentional about doing this because sleep is a major key when it comes to our health. During the time that we are knocked out sleeping, our bodies are healing, they're rejuvenating, it's helping to boost our immune system, our mental health is being taken care of. There's so many things that come into play with good sleep. Our hormones, ladies. Sleep helps with balancing out our hormones so that we're not out here being a little cuckoo, a little crazy, especially around that time of the month. So good sleep is very imperative. Now, something that you can do if you're like me, where you're struggling with consistent bedtime, you're struggling with getting in enough hours, one thing that I've implemented is just setting an alarm on my phone to go off every evening at 8 p.m. Okay. And at 8 p.m., I know it is time for me to take whatever I'm going to take to help my body to start relaxing so that I can get in that mode of wanting to go to sleep. I am doing my self-care, my skincare. I am taking my shower and just getting ready for bed. Now, I don't go to bed until 10 o'clock. That alarm is going off at 8. Now, why do I do that? Because I have a tendency of the alarm went off, I'm going to give myself an extra 30 minutes before I actually start moving and doing the things that I said I was going to do. So that's something that you can implement if you're like me, where it's like, girl, the bedtime is trash and I'm not getting enough sleep. So I'm doing that, and I'm also being consistent with the time that I wake up every morning. I'm training my body to now be ready to go to sleep at a certain time and get up at a certain time to get my day going. But again, this is your self-care practice. So do what works for you. What time do you need to be asleep so that you're able to get enough hours before you have to get up in the morning? What does your nighttime routine need to look like for you? Do you have a skincare routine? I'm going to say this. I know that I said that self-care is not cookie cutter, and it's not. But girl, I hope you have a nighttime skincare routine, okay? We all need to have that, ladies. At minimum, girl, I need you to wash your face at night and put on a moisturizer. At minimum, okay? But let me get off that tangent. Okay, so now let's talk about the healthy eating. What does that look like for you? What does your diet look like for you? When I say your diet, basically your day-to-day, how do you eat? Are your foods nutritious? Are they things that are fueling your body and giving your body the energy it needs to make it through the day? And when I say fueling your body, I am not referring to you downing a bunch of energy drinks, because PSA, just in case y'all didn't know, that is extremely unhealthy for your body. And at some point, you're going to end up paying for it. I'll just say that. You're going to burn out your adrenal system, and it's just not worth it. So what are you fueling your body with? If you're someone that you're like, girl, I can't eat breakfast in the morning, like it's not my thing. Okay, do what works for you. When it is time for you to eat, what does that look like? Are you just eating something that's quick and fast, something that's processed, or are you having something that is healthy and nutritious? Again, what we eat plays a role with our energy. It plays a role with our mind, how our mind works. It plays a role with our immune system. It plays a role with our hormones. And if you guys notice, it's the same thing. It affects the same areas that our sleep affects, right? It all plays together. So what does your diet look like? And if you don't have a healthy diet, what can you start doing to change that? Like, what is one thing that you can start implementing to help get you on a path where you're building a healthy eating habit? Now, I'm a girl that loves burgers and fries. I'm not gonna lie. I love me a good burger, and anything that's potato, your girl is here for it, right? But I know this is not something that I can be eating every single day. I'm also not the biggest fan of veggies. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm not. But what I have done, because I know this is something that my body needs, I choose the vegetables that I actually enjoy, and I choose the ones that my body tolerates well. And I'm saying this because I want you ladies to be very cognizant of what you're eating and how they make your body feel. How does your body react to these foods? Because not everything that is healthy, or not everything that is labeled healthy, works for everyone's body. For me, I deal with food allergies a lot. Like, I am lactose intolerant. I have a gluten issue, and it took me, I believe, about a year before I realized I was getting sick a lot because of the food that I was eating. And mind you, it was healthy food. I was on top of my nutrition, eating the healthy foods, but I'm getting sick. My stomach was bloated. I looked like I was probably about 5 months pregnant. And then it got to the point where my energy was so shot that even when I was sleeping 9 hours, I was like at this point feeling like I need at least 9 hours of sleep because my energy, I was lethargic all of the time. But I would get up after the 9 hours, and probably within an hour of being up, I'm ready to like just fall out again. My eyes got super puffy, and I just was having bags under my eyes all the time. And I'm like, none of this makes any sense to me. I'm going to doctors, I'm getting tests, and they're basically telling me like, oh, nothing's wrong with you. You're young. You're probably just tired because you have kids. And I'm like, that's not what it is. So I basically, long story short, I had to do my own research on foods and seeing what could possibly be going on. Do I have some form of allergic reaction or what? And that's where I learned to start eliminating certain foods for 2 weeks, and then bringing them back in, seeing how my body reacts. And that is basically how I learned that I had a gluten intolerance. Do what works for your body. Pay attention to what you're putting inside your body and how it makes you feel. And if it is sucking out your energy, if it is causing you to be sick all the time or feel lethargic or whatever it is, sis, it's time to evaluate that diet and change things up again. So let's move on from that because I feel like I started rambling. But now let's talk about the physical aspect of this physical self-care. It's important that you're making time for physical activity. I don't care what the activity is. I don't care if it's like you're walking, or you like to go for jogs, or you like to ride a bike, or you jump rope, or you skateboard. I don't care what it is. You need to make it a priority that you are being physically active, and honestly, this should be an everyday thing. Now, when I say every day, I am not referring to you need to be at the gym doing hardcore workouts every day. You don't want to do that because you're going to burn yourself out. But moving your body every single day in some way, shape, or fashion. By the age of 30, we begin to lose between 3 to 8% of muscle mass, like within every decade. 3 to 8% muscle mass. You need that muscle mass, sis, if you want to continue looking toned, which helps to keep you looking young, and it helps to keep that fat away. If you're not moving your body, you're going to be in that space where you're losing a pretty significant amount of muscle mass and just adding on layers of fat on your body. So I want y'all to move. This is not even just about, a whole image type of thing. This is for your health overall. This is for your heart health, your lung health. This is for your mind health, because again, I keep telling you guys that they all play together. And so when you are continuously being physically active throughout your life, it helps with your mental health as well. It helps with our hormones as well. It helps with the way we feel about ourselves, our self-esteem. There's so much that goes into it. So I want you to make it a point to move your body every single day. Do what works for you. Even if that looks like taking a pole dancing class. I've done it before. I absolutely loved it. And to be honest with y'all, at some point, your girl just gonna sign up for a membership, and I'm gonna learn how to be a professional on there. But I'm just sharing this with you guys just to let you know, like, don't get stuck in a box feeling like it has to be a particular type of workout. Do what you enjoy and make this self-care practice something that you want to do, right? You enjoy doing it, and you're not doing it because you feel like you're obligated to. So now let's talk about that mental self-care. So important. Now, I know that the physical aspect and the setting boundaries, they all come into play with helping our mental health. But what are you specifically doing for your mental health? How are you spending your time during the day? Like, what are you consuming? What are you consuming through your eyes or your ears? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Who do you follow on social media? All of that plays a role with our mental health, which plays a role with how we view ourselves as women or as an individual. And so if you are on social media and you're following people that when you see how they live their lives and the things that they're doing, it makes you feel uncomfortable, or it makes you feel, a little bit less than or beneath them. Girl, why are you following them? Like, why are you subjecting yourself to being in a space where you're feeling like you're not worth what someone else is, or your worth is not as much as someone else's? So what are you taking in every day? What do you listen to when you first wake up in the morning? Like, when you first get up in the morning, are you checking emails? Are you checking messages? Are you jumping on social media? If you are, I want you to ask yourself why. Like, why do I find it more important to do this than to get up and just spend time alone with myself? Check in with myself. Check in to see, how do I feel? Did I get enough sleep? Do I feel well rested? Do I feel like I'm ready for this day? What's going on through my mind? Like, that's how I want you guys to start with your day versus, let me pick up this phone and start seeing like what so-and-so is doing. And a lot of times we'll get caught up in this cycle of jumping on social media first thing in the morning, and we're immediately feeding our minds so much crap that actually influences our day. It influences how we show up throughout the rest of the day. It influences what our minds are set on. And so instead of doing that, I'd rather you take control of your day, of your time, of your mental health, and start the day off focused on you. Maybe even just play some music, put some music on in the background while you get ready, or if you just want to sit in silence, do that. But what are you taking in throughout the day? What are you listening to? What kind of conversations do you find yourself involved in? Is it gossip? Is it negative conversations? Are we listening to things that are basically causing us to be more fearful as we go out in the world? Like, what are you feeding yourself daily? I want to throw this in there as well. Never be afraid to unfollow someone. I just feel the need to say this right now. But if you are following people or a particular person, again, where I'm not even saying it's a bad person, not even saying that they're posting things that are negative, but for whatever reason, when you see their posts and the things that they're doing and they're talking about, it makes you feel insignificant. Never be afraid or ashamed to unfollow. At the end of the day, your priority is to make sure that your mental health is taken care of and that you are protecting yourself. That's a part of setting boundaries as well. And girl, I have done it a couple times where certain people, it just made me feel insignificant based on the space that I was in at a certain time, and just seeing, like, well, I like her, but man, every time she posts, it just makes me feel even worse for being in the situation that I'm in. I'm glad that she has all these great things, but this doesn't do anything for me. It makes me feel worse. So you know what? Let me just go ahead and unfollow so I don't have to keep being reminded of this every time I get on here. So again, it doesn't mean that someone is a bad person or they're posting negative things. It could just be that with the space that you're in, it's not something that you're able to take in at the moment. And so just be mindful of that. Okay, girl, let's talk about these relationships. Let's talk about cultivating healthy relationships. And unfortunately, I just feel like too many women are failing at this. So what does a healthy relationship look like? One of the things that we can do to cultivate healthy relationship is first starting with learning to actively listen. And when I say actively listen, I am referring to listening to actually hear what this person is saying, listening to actually understand what they're saying and what's going on, versus listening to hurry up and respond, listening to basically shut them up, say something, shut them up and get back to you. We have to learn to actively listen to what the other person has to say. And this is not even just with our girlfriends, but just this is something for relationships across the board. But what I find with a lot of women is that it tends to be so one-sided, where one person is more so always wanting to focus on her issues or her life or her problem or her success or whatever it is. And, she may let the other person interject and talk a little bit about themselves, but it's predominantly a one-sided thing. And I want us to have healthy, balanced relationships where we can actually have conversations with each other and not feel like it's one-sided. We can have conversations with each other and know that the other person is actually listening to understand me, to hear what I'm saying, versus I already got a response. Because another thing that we like to do as women is we always want to have an answer, right? We always want to help the person find the answer, or give them, like, I got the key, girl, like I know what the answer is. And it's like, no, sometimes you need to just sit back and listen to what's going on first. Sometimes a person is not looking for an answer. They're not looking for a particular help from you. Sometimes people just want you to listen. Now, another way that we can focus on cultivating healthy relationships is learning to communicate effectively. I'll say that. Learning to communicate effectively. And that looks like being clear on what your intentions are, being clear on what you're saying to the other person, being able to open your mouth when something is bothering you versus keeping it in and then becoming passive aggressive, or keeping it in and now holding a grudge against someone and they have no idea what's really going on with you. So effective communication is absolutely key for a healthy relationship. Show appreciation, right? It takes nothing to give someone a compliment or to say thank you. You have someone or people in your life that you know these people truly care about you. Make time for them. Make time to reach out. Make time to spend time with them. Make time to just check and see how things are going. I just feel like there's just so many women that this is where we fall off. And I hear a lot of, I don't get along with women. And I'm like, girl, in all honesty, if you are over 30 and you're still saying that, just book a session with me, because something's not right there. And I do understand there are some women that can be very catty and we're not all going to get along. I completely understand that. But if you are walking around saying that I just don't get along with women, I don't have women friends, whatever, there is something else going on there. And you definitely want to sit back and see what that is. So when it comes to your self-care, and it comes to forming these healthy relationships, my question for you is, what area do you need to work on? Is it the area of being able to listen a little bit better? Is it the area of learning to have effective communication and actually speaking up and saying what's going on and how you feel? Is it an area where you may need to show a little bit more appreciation for the friendship and the relationships that are in your life? What area do you need to start working on? And what is one thing that you can start today towards creating that healthier, happier relationship? Okay, last but definitely not least, let's talk about pursuing personal growth. I'm going to say this right off rip, okay? Having a sense of purpose can be the one thing that gets you out of bed every morning. When we have a sense of purpose, it gets us up out of bed. I am a testament to that. I've had bouts of depression throughout my life, and each time it was because I ended up in just low situations, right? And just side note, please check out my podcast, Behind the Black Curtain, because that podcast is where I share my life story and my journey with you guys. Like, I go into detail with so many things that I've gone through. So definitely check out the podcast. But there's been times in my life where I was like extremely at my lowest, and I would start falling into a sense of depression because I felt like I had no purpose. Like, why am I here? Like, what is the reason? I have nothing, right? Everything is falling apart around me. And my whole mindset and my focus was on everything that I'm losing and everything that's going wrong versus my sense of purpose. Like, what can I work on right now to make things better? What can I work on to actually help someone else out? Me doing my podcast, me doing this YouTube channel is so that I can help others. This gives me a sense of purpose. So what gives you a sense of purpose, and how can you begin to work on that? If you are in a position where you're like, girl, I don't know. I don't know what my thing is right now. I want to give you some suggestions and some things that you can start doing that will maybe like give you, like, awaken something in you. I would suggest things like taking a class, taking a course, reading books that are on subjects or topics that you're interested in, even volunteering somewhere that puts you in a new environment or a different space, that puts you around different type of people, that will help to open up your mind to a new environment. Or even just talking to friends and family, people that are really close to you, and asking them, what they see as your strengths. Where do they see you stand out with certain things that you do? But definitely figure out what gives you a sense of purpose and begin to incorporate that into your daily life. Begin to work on things that help develop that, so that, girl, you can feel like you want to get up every day and do your thing. As a life coach, I help women identify specific strategies that work best for them and then help them implement them into their daily lives. If you're in a space where you need guidance with any of this, click the link in my bio and schedule a consultation with me, and let's talk about it. Girls, that is it for today's video. Remember that you are meant for more. Take care of your mind, body, and soul, and enjoy this journey on becoming your best self. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next video.